All right, let's do a quick welcome. Maybe if we could start with just saying, name, role here. Let's start in the room there. I'll let you guys go.
Start, Hannah. We're just going in.
Okay, Hannah Gregory, Bluegrass Quality Control Manager.
Ronald Packer, Business Service Manager.
Tiffany Reeves, Director of Workforce Services.
Colin Mosley, WIO Accounting Officer.
Robin Richmond, Program Assistant.
Start with you, Kevin.
Kevin Moore, Workforce Services Manager. Hello, Ethan.
Stacy.
Stacy May, Planning and Information Manager.
Michelle.
Michelle Deans, I'm a director with Cherry Becker.
Micah.
Micah Drake, plant manager at Carhartt.
Todd.
Todd Blanton, one-stop operator.
Matt.
Matt Montgomery with SAP, treasurer.
Ethan.
I'm Ethan Linville. I'm with the Department of Defense, and I am the citizen member of the Finance Committee.
Jennifer.
Jennifer Hayes, Project Director, Direct Service Provider.
Great, thanks everybody. First then on the agenda is the approval for the minutes that were in your packet from the November 17th meeting. Any questions, comments?
To approve.
Thank you, Ethan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Michelle. All in favor? Opposed? Great. Minutes are approved. Colin's going to take us through the finance report for January.
Sure. So overall in January, we were at approximately 42.34% expended on our budget. We were at 70% at the same time last year. Our admin expenses were at 57% as compared with 65% in the prior year. Our adult was at 27% as compared with 123% the prior year. Dislocated worker was 33% expended as compared with 59% the prior year. Our youth was at 44% as compared with 73% in the prior year. And then we were at about 20% total expended on our work experience for the youth program. And then you can look at our chart there. It just kind of shows we're kind of just in a little steady, almost a straight line so far. So, and then we did get our January draw for Equus and for the ad. So that's about to go in and it'll hit our books on this as well soon. Heading into the February one.
All right, so we're 7 months in and we're at 43%, right? Is that, I mean, but I think that the last time we talked, I just want to confirm it, right? I mean, it looks like we're not going to have to give any funds back. We're expending as we should be, but it is we definitely will have some carryover potentially.
Potentially. But as new enrollments and things hit in, perhaps we can get a little bit closer to maximizing the rest of this budget at the end of the year. But as we are right now, we are still, trending much better than this time last year. So.
Yeah, if I take your line and I were to keep continuing that, because it's pretty amazing that how straight a line that is, as you were saying, right? That would almost take us to just over 2 million. It looks like if I draw that, where I think that our forecast is closer to 3 million. So that, unless enrollments pick up, I mean, it does seem like we're going to be under budget at this run rate.
Is it okay if I speak? I do know that enrollments are picking up simply because you've got to stop and think. We knew that we wouldn't be hardly doing any enrollments from July to December, right? Because of the issues that happened last year. And then you also got to keep in mind that we didn't get our second allotment until late in December, right? From the state. And that wasn't the state's fault this go round. It was just the way the formula is and the unemployment rate, right? So they had to wait on DOL to provide guidance to them on how to divvy it, that the formula funds out. But I know that, Jennifer, because I know like that you were in Georgetown yesterday, I know enrollments are picking up by what we've seen, so I don't see that we have, do you have a concern that you're not gonna be able to hit the budget numbers, extend the budget? I know I don't.
No, I don't have any concerns. We really weren't trying to spend any money up until January. And so, in January is when we really started to push enrollments. And then also another factor that's going to be key in this is that we're adding back staff now. So we reduced staff. This time last year, we had 14 case managers, and right now we have 3 case managers. And so we're starting this second half of the year to slowly build back that team. And so we have 3 job offers on the line for March the 18th. So we're starting to build back our team. So the budget, my budget, will be exhausted by the end of the year. And then the ad probably has budget money that'll be carryover for the next year.
Okay, but I mean, and I know we didn't have a director last, so other things like that. That makes sense. I was just drawing the lines. That's helpful. Anyone else have questions about the budget?
I have a quick question. We used to, Michael used to prepare when he was doing the budget. It was a schedule that showed every program that we have and the kind of the run rate on the program, and it was, it showed each program that we had open, how much we had left, how much we had expended. And my understanding of how we got in trouble last year is we stopped doing that schedule. Can we have that schedule again? I'm sure if we reached out to Michael, he would know what I was referring to. Matt, do you remember that?
I know exactly what you're talking about. That is the budget analysis spreadsheet that we keep as we expend. Yeah. And we close the books out each month. We update that spreadsheet, and it shows what our run rate is on each of our grants that we have. All of our active grants are listed out. And that's something I could start adding to this report if you would like.
I think that would be helpful if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's like my Bible. So whenever
that's what Michael said to you. And I think as an accountant, I like seeing that because it's numbers more than the graphs.
Sure.
And I'm in marketing, so I'm like, I want to.
So Matt likes the graphs.
Yeah, that's right.
The pictures, you want the numbers. Okay. I can add that as well. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And if you would like, I can go ahead and send out to the group the current updated January budget analysis, if you would like.
Great. Thank you.
If we add it to the full board meeting, which is the 6th, it'll go out to everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll add it to the full board packet too, but go ahead and.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got 2 questions.
And going forward, I will just start adding that.
I've got 2 questions. Is this the first year of our 2-year cycle on funds? Is that why we're not? I know we had I guess it was Mike Riley that presented it last time about we weren't going to go full speed ahead because we wanted some carryover to build back up our reserves due to the issues that we had the last 2 years. And the follow on to that is 20% expended in youth work experience. I know we have a statutory requirement to spend so much in that bucket. Are we in any fear of not hitting that?
Well, Jennifer, do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, we don't have any fear. We'll hit it. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll hit it. We always do, Ethan. And on the 2-year budget cycle, that is what this is.
Perfect. So we're expecting carryover, but that's to help build our reserves back where we used to have a certain amount of carryover each year. And then it sounds like my biggest concern is if we don't hit that statutory requirement, they start taking a cut from us as we move into the out years. And the allotment issue, I think, had a lot to do with the CR. That's the other reason I was asking about if this was the first year in the cycle, because it's not funds that were already appropriated and out there. So that's probably why the allotments were so late. I'm still waiting on money on my side of the house for DOD. That's what the regional federal offices are holding up cash flow, simply because they're only doling it out of DC every time they get together and kick it out another 30 days. So I think we're seeing some of the effects of that too, with you guys getting delayed allotment. But okay, that's all I want to know. Make sure we're going to hit our mark.
Yes.
Just in digging to the numbers a little bit, just so I understand them again, not being an accountant, but some of these are like the Career Center. It looks like we're a little overspent on that one. Is that, what's going on with that?
I don't know which one he's looking at.
Which one is it, Matt?
So if you go on the graph page, the next page down, in that fiscal agent cost, the Career Center, it looks like it's about 11% overspent.
Yeah, on that one, that's probably because we're eating all the cost in Richmond right now. We're waiting on, and Todd, if I'm not mistaken, right, there's finally movement, but we have taken over the lease, the entire building at the Richmond Career Center, right? Where Kentucky River Foothills moved out. We already have OBR and adult ed in there, and we're just waiting for them to get the lease squared away so that they will start paying us.
So Tiff, that's kind of correct, but that space that we've got that they've moved into, we've always paid for that, because when we had full staff, those were occupied with our folks.
Right.
So we'll recoup some of that cost from OBR and adult ed moving in. But when we were at full staff, those were occupied by our folks. So we've not taken on any new space. That's just them paying for the space that our staff have vacated when we did the layoff.
So we've not got, it's not started on the other side of the building yet?
No.
Okay,
no.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood on that.
No, that's the same space that we've always had.
Okay.
And we kind of, when we discussed it with the state folks, we decided we would not commit to taking any space additionally until they provided a signed sublease stating such.
For the over expenditure, are we seeing an increase in overhead like utilities and things like that? And is that causing the 11% over? Or what costs are associated with that, I think is what Matt's trying to drive at. And are we?
Yeah, because if we're 7 months through the year and we're already, what is 24 grand over, it looks like that's at about a $35K run rate. And so for the 5 remaining months, I mean, that looks like we're going to be about $180,000, $200,000 over in that area. So just want to understand that a little bit more deeply versus budget.
Small amount could potentially be, and when I say small, I could give you the number if you need it, but the lease in Richmond does increase each year. So there's always going to be an additional rent, expenditure, because they have built into the lease an increase year over year, but it's not much. I want to say, Matt, it's less than $2,000 over the course of the year for that rent. So that wouldn't have anything to do with a large jump as far as facilities go. But the Richmond lease does hold a increase each year of the 7-year term, or the 5-year term, I should say.
No, I think that's fine, but I mean, our budget is $225,000. 7 months in, we're overspent by $25,000. I'm just trying to understand where we're going to land there and where that overage is going to be recovered.
Can I add something, Matt?
Yes, please.
I'll add something. Colin,
I'm sorry.
Chip, I think I know what they're talking about. So this program year specifically, you all rolled up all of the utilities under the ads contract. So this time last year, all of those utilities was rolled up under the Equus contract. but Mike, wanted all of the, utilities rolled up under the ad, so I'm not familiar with your all side of it, but my best guess is it's utilities that you all rolled up this year that you didn't have last year.
Yeah, looking at career center costs instead of where it was before in the Equus reimbursements. That makes sense.
Yeah, that
And
did
is
start.
that similar for like the phone and equipment? Because that also is about 25 grand over budget. I mean, that's a smaller source amount.
Yeah, and almost all of that was because that transfer VR, there was another re-up in payment. There's another payment renewal that came in here in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, that pretty much did that. So what we had originally planned on was we had re-upped all the computers in the career centers because they were all awful. So we got that straightened up, and then this VR bill came in, and that doubled us up there.
Okay.
So we shifted that cost from what was considered program cost going to Equus into the career center and the phone line, the phone and equipment. So I guess the recovery was from what was being reimbursed to Equus. We're booking it somewhere different this year, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, it looks like it's hitting all adults because the other ones, when you drill into the other areas like administrative, don't have the cost, and then the other programs are positive, where it looks like adult hit like a 65K hit in the balance there. All right, so what's the coaching here? Should I not pay attention to those line item levels and you're looking for the total for the category? Because we're at 58%. I mean, we've got room there to kind of go after it. I'm just sensitive to overages, I guess. So help me feel less concerned.
I think since we have full nimbility now to move across adult and dislocated worker, then we need to look at the overall. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, that looks alarming at first glance. But I mean, we could just shift costs or move money between adult and dislocated worker to affect the line item.
Yeah, and so Matt, like in our staffing and supplies in that area, we've really not, we're really under budget on that area. So in general, we have plenty of room to sort this out and make sure that, because although we've added Tiffany onto our salaries, and then we brought Kevin on, we're still going to be under in that area, and that's a much larger segment of our budget. So
are there rules or policies in place where if something adjusts outside a material percentage that you have to get something reapproved or reviewed or notified or escalated? What I mean by that is we set a budget that the board approved for, for that one for $225,000, right? We approved that as, $225,000. It looks like you're trending to be probably more than 40% outside that. And are there any guardrails that say that we need to get that reviewed to allow that reallocation, or are we only doing that at the overall program level?
I'm gonna have to look into that, Matt. I don't know what the specific is on that.
It's overall program levels, how it's always been, but we can develop a policy on that. There's nothing wrong with that at all, with having a policy that comes into play with it.
I think I would just be ready to brief the full boards and the LEOs because if they get a report and they're looking at it, they're gonna have the same questions Matt has, which are completely valid questions of why are we spending $180K more in this bucket than we did last year. But when you do the budget update, I would just call it out and say, listen, we shifted the way we were booking some of the costs. Utilities came out of the Equus contract, but the narrative needs to be done. I'm not opposed to the policy if that's what you guys want to do. But if there's negatives and stuff like that, we got to make sure we're articulating to the LEOs and the full WIB what that is. And that could be done in a budget update. It could be done formally in a budget amendment. I'll leave that up to the rest of the board or the committee to make the decision, but whatever everyone thinks is best.
Yeah, I think that so I appreciate that, Ethan. I agree with you. There is some level that causes concern, and I don't know what that number value is, and I don't want to cause a lot of additional headache, but like when I look down at professional, the one-stop operator costs, and there's $525 because we didn't have a budget for phone. Like I don't care, right? I don't care about something like that, but I do care. I think when in that space we're trending, we've got 5 months left in the year to look at, and we're 50,000 over budget in an area. If I'm not at the line level, right, not at the overall category level, then I'd like to have a little bit more confidence that that isn't ballooning in an uncontrolled manner. So I think what Ethan described is if there's a good narrative about what that is, and this is just a reallocation, I think that that's okay, but it'd be good to understand. I don't think that anybody at the board level is approving a budget based on an individual line. Like I would not have made a different decision if you had budgeted $500,000 for Career Center versus 225, and you would be in a better place. But just when we see the larger negative numbers, I'd like to have a little bit more confidence that we're operating in control, as you are, but just that would be helpful.
And I think it's a situation where you guys made a business decision to move the utility costs, and then we didn't adjust our budget to accommodate, and now we're seeing that negative. But we do need to make an amendment probably and notify the board of the change.
Yeah, because whenever Mike came on as interim, that's whenever he started pulling all the leases and utilities and everything into the ad as, the fiscal agent taking care of all those operational costs. So that's where and we should have updated that, you know what I mean? But it just slipped. So.
All right, so we're talking about adding in a good narrative for what those things are and just making sure that it's clear that we continue to operate under budget as anticipated and planned. Any other discussion around the budget or things that team you'd like to see?
Those larger amounts, would it just be helpful to have like a little footnote at the bottom? Just something, like Matt said, the $500 nobody necessarily cares about, but the larger ones.
Yeah.
Just instead of doing necessarily a formal budget amendment, because if there's a particular situation like, maybe redoing leases, then that makes sense for budget amendments, but I shy away from budget amendments as much as you can, because you don't want to change the rules halfway through the year. But having just a little asterisk and say, this is what this is, would be helpful.
I would move to approve the budget with the caveat of adding the footnote of the rebooking of the utility fees and things, just to call out why that shows such a large negative there.
And maybe what we would just say is if it's anything that's more than $10,000 that's showing up there, that we would put a footnote for. If that's, let's make sure and see that if that's workable before we make it a formal policy. But it's just a guidance if we could maybe do that.
Yeah, I like that as well. I'll make a motion. Well, it's probably two motions. I'll make a motion to accept the budget with the footnote of the negative amount. Just explaining to everyone what's going on there. Let's do that one first.
All right. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Michelle. And then all in favor? Any opposed? Great, that passes. And then second, Ethan, I guess.
Yeah, we'll follow up with a motion where we just make sure we add in the footnote and that we are tracking and calling out specifically any deviation over $10,000 to a line item specific.
Yeah, to the negative, right? I
Yeah,
don't
to the
care if
negative,
you're
yes.
under budget, but if you're going over
Right.
budget, yes. Yeah, I think that's good. That's good. Okay, so is there a second for that?
One
I'll
second.
second that.
Okay, Michelle won. Micah, you got to be faster, man. Okay. So any opposed? All in favor? Great. So that passes as well. So thank you all very much. I know that that's a lot of work to get a few pieces of paper together. So thank you for driving that forward and getting everything under control. Next, we have the grants update, Tiffany.
We submitted the national the way that it works, whenever you're gonna submit a national dislocated worker grant for like the depot, we have a DOL contact that gives a first look over it. I submitted that to her on February 20th. I'm just waiting for her to come back to me. She replied that she had been at a conference and that she would hopefully be reviewing it this week. Once she comes back, if all our numbers make sense and everything adds up to her, then we'll actually get it submitted through the DOL website. That's the biggest grant that we've got, that we've got on the horizon. And that would be specifically for those individuals that are affected by the depot layoff.
Who are you guys working with at the depot? And that's just my DOD brain asking.
Lori Jones and Holly Neal.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions or other discussion about that?
And Ethan, I apologize, one more name, Sam Jones with the chemical activity.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right, next on the controls from the findings, Tiffany as well.
Okay, so you had discussed that you wanted to do a deeper dive. We know that part of the findings was simply missing MapQuest, right? We had talked about that in the executive committee meeting. Whenever Michael Bushman was the WIOA financial officer, there was simply a Excel snippet that had the locations from Career Center to Career Center, right? So we could submit that along with all the other MapQuests. Like, let's say that Rowley goes to the depot, right? And Rowley wants to get reimbursed for that travel. Then there would be a MapQuest from the Career Center to the depot, because that is not a standard Career Center to Career Center. The state then decided that they wanted all from Career Center to Career Center MapQuest and did not inform us. So the month that they pulled to monitor the drawdown they pulled to monitor, it was naturally missing those MapQuests from Career Center to Career Center. Right, so moving forward, there's every single MapQuest in the world that you can think of. We are killing trees left and right here at the Bluegrass ad in name of.
Yeah, and as you know, as Jennifer sends over their documents, that since we did a training in December, everyone at the Career Center that travels between Career Centers, between the Career Center and the ad, they're preparing that. That MapQuest and including it with their travel documentation. And so whenever I get the documentation from them, that every month it's in the packet with the invoice, what we're reimbursing them for. My process is to go through the travel packet and double check everybody's travel, make sure everything's there. And if anything's missing, I will print one off. Although since that December training, I have not had to print off anything. So that's just kind of how it's gone so far. And that's our control, is I double check it and I scan it. I go ahead and scan it all in, and it's ready to go whenever we need to submit to the state. So. Yeah.
And because I know at the executive committee meeting, because that's one reason why I asked Mr. Riley to be on here, because who knew? He also had, little did I realize until this morning, that he had some to do with the creation of the work system. that the state uses. So we'll have some separate discussion with Mike Riley on that one and all his wonderful, wonderful efforts.
Oh,
But
yeah,
like
we need to just blame him for everything, I think, as he pops on here,
Listen.
right?
Oh, look, ETPL, Key Suite, there's a lot of things that you don't know when Mike was at the state that he was with. But, you had mentioned
Big shoulders.
something about
Yeah.
if on the work side, if there was an internal control, like if Collins put in there for 10 people for travel reimbursement, if there's something in the work system that would say, you're missing this document, that I know of, there's nothing, Mr. Riley?
No, so the work system was based on a platform called IntelliGrants, which is built by Agate Software that we developed at the Justice Cabinet to handle all the justice grants. And then the Education Cabinet sort of borrowed it from the Justice Cabinet and renamed it from IntelliGrants to the work system. I do not take credit for, I do not want my name attached to that one any more than I want it attached to Key Suite. Like, I'll just, like,
But boy,
what a
there it
legacy.
is.
But the problem is
There it
it's really just a repository and a way for the local areas to upload data. It doesn't have any bells and whistles that allow it to check for flagged items. From a programming perspective, it's not very sophisticated, but it is a mechanism to allow subcontractors, subgrantees to simply upload budgetary items. Now, when they do manually upload like categories, it does the math for them. But as far as like having the ability to like flag for things, it doesn't really have that. It's just a way for the state level accountants to let the local areas upload their financial data. It's not much more complicated than that.
Yeah. So my travel package, just one big stack, goes in, and Brenda Travis over there and maybe somebody else, double checks and make sure that everything's covered. This last draw that I submitted, there was a couple of things that held us up because, I had left. So there was a conference travel that included a hotel bill, and on that hotel bill, there was liquor charges, and it was very clear on the hotel bill that we did not reimburse for the liquor charges. We only reimbursed for the room. But that was a fun conversation, and because it still showed a balance owed of $30, which is exactly how much the liquor was. So I don't know, maybe there's something I could do to make it a little bit more clear to them that we're reimbursing for just the hotel and that sort of thing. But Tiffany made the call, said, hey, if you're gonna get liquor on a conference, don't charge it to your room, something like that.
Yeah, we'll be going over that on the board meeting.
That's
And the
something
board
that
meeting
she's
also
thinking
is
that
that
we
coming
need
up.
to do. But that held us back a couple of days on getting our draw, which we did wind up getting. But simple things like that, it's if there's anything documentation wise, Brenda catches it and then she calls me up and tells me hey, we need to add this or whatever. But that was the hang up on the last one. So.
Yeah, but no matter, any time that the state will tell us, we want it this way, we always give it that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We do our best. But we have to know the certain ways that they want things. And I will say this, the state has been more involved, right? Since probably about November when they did that.
When they did the big training.
The physical.
We've got
training,
a
yeah.
quarterly training they're gonna start picking up just
Yeah.
to double check and make sure everybody's, on the same page. Here in March, that's gonna start up.
So the states became more involved across the board for all the areas, and it is appreciated. So.
For sure. Yeah.
So I have a question. Is it mandated that you all use that for travel? I was gonna say, because we use Concur and it's just paperless. It's pretty simple, but.
Yeah, it's mandated. That's where they want us to send the travel. They don't want to send it in an email or any other way. So the reason why they do it is, so in the work system, we've got 20 active grants, 10 active grants, whatever. whenever we're drawing on maybe 5 of those grants, maybe 4 of those grants. And so they want it to go specifically to which grant. So that's the whole packet's going to each of these grants. And so it's, I guess it's from their perspective, maybe it's simpler just to have it all, all in one pack. And I don't know why they do it, but that is where they want it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Micah, some of the Equus staff does use Concur, so we use Concur SAP. But we still have to print those forms and send it into the ad. So the Equus team is on board with that system for sure.
I'm being really careful because that's my company. So I'm not promoting it. I'm just saying. All right. Any other questions on that one? Thank you. I think that was the major list anyway, was all of the MapQuest stuff. So that's helpful to know.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not saying that there won't be a future one that you might have a missing MapQuest, because human error happens. Like sometimes people overlook things, but as quick as anything's brought to our attention, we do everything we can to fix it.
If we have more than 1 or 2 on the next one, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
Okay. WIOA updates.
The only thing that's about is just to make sure that everybody realizes that we are still watching for the WIOA reauthorization. As quick as it comes down, there may be policies we have to change. We just got to wait and see. One minute you think that it's going to get pushed forward and they'll go ahead. The next minute something happens overseas or somewhere in the world. And I'm like, yeah, I really don't think they're worried about this little part with everything else going on. But as quickly as it gets reauthorized, we'll let you all know. That's what I got on that.
Okay. Any other discussion or anything else we want to talk about as a committee? Well, just thank you all. I mean, staff, I know that there's a lot of work that goes into putting this together and making it run quickly and smoothly for us. So thank you for all that you do, but we appreciate it. Can I get a motion then to adjourn? Thank you, Micah. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ethan. All in favor? All right. Again, thank you. Thanks, everybody.